Cody Whitaker, and I teach fourth grade at Winfield Primary School. I teach ELA and social studies. I'm very excited to run for Bessie. A lot of my colleagues, pushed me and urged me to run for this position. Previously, we haven't had a teacher represented from District 4. So I'm very excited to run and garner some support from not just teachers, support staff, but from members of the community and really people that have never voted before. I think Bessie is a very exciting and needed position in our state. And trying to advocate that more people learn about the position and the board as a whole.
So in your own terms, how would you define the role of the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, and what are the responsibilities as a member?
In my own terms, the board is a policy-making board. They set the standards for education in the state for teachers and students. They have a very big role to play. Most people don't really know about the Bessie board. It's kind of like not a bit like, congressional race or things like that, but the board makes policy for over 700,000 students, including public and charter school students. So it's very much needed. And hopefully by running, I can advocate for the teachers and, tell a little bit about the board to community members.
What three priorities will you have as a Bessie member, and how will you work collaboratively with other board members to integrate these priorities into the work of the board?
So one priority would definitely be to promote our younger age pre-K through third grade literacy programs in our state. We're among the lowest performing as far as literacy in the United States. So that would be something as far as students that I would promote. Second would definitely be teacher recruitment and retention. We all know that teachers are very underpaid in this state, but getting them into the education realm is very hard. Once we do get them in the education realm, the focus then shifts from recruitment to retention. How do we keep the teachers here? More importantly, how do we keep them in the state of Louisiana? And last, I would say that the last priority would definitely be to promote, productive citizens in our community, having them vote, having them obtain different jobs, look at the ways that we can promote technical college, four-year university, and as well as the workforce. College is not for everyone. So it's okay to go to work right away or to dive into a community college realm and then a four-year degree program.
Question 3, which current Louisiana K-12 education programs or initiatives do you believe are working and producing results? And which programs or initiatives need to be changed or updated?
The current pre-K to K program that I do advocate for is the guidebooks curriculum. I think it's good and rigorous for our students. Definitely to get them equipped for the state test and to get them ready for that. Something that I would change would possibly be some of the math programs that we implement, looking at different programs and vendors to bring into the state so that we can perhaps build those relationships with the different vendors so that we can promote growth in education.
While each Bessie member represents a specific district, many of the challenges facing education are statewide problems. How do you see balancing your responsibility to your specific district and to the state as a whole?
Well, definitely, District 4, our district, has different problems than, let's say, South Louisiana. We are very rural. This is a very rural community. So there's more public schools than there are charter schools. So I think the focus of, for District 4 would be to promote more of the public education realm. Now, charter schools are very prevalent down south. So I think that taking the challenges that we have in District 4 and bringing them to the entire state board, the BESE board, as it relates to rural education would be something that would be very beneficial. As we look into the virtual realm, the pandemic has changed all of our lives. Definitely, I know from my district, it has really been a challenge to bring in internet services to these rural communities. So definitely something, hotspots or something like that we can get more money from the CARES Act to bring to these rural communities.
The current COVID pandemic has required significant changes in the way in which instruction has been delivered around the state. Are there any COVID-related changes that you believe are effective and should be continued? And are there other changes which you believe should not?
Okay, definitely COVID has changed the way that we teach. It's changed the way that I teach, definitely. Some of the things that I do like that the pandemic did bring was, it didn't require, but it really gave a honed in on a focus of giving one-to-one technology for students. A lot of parishes in our district did not have the adequate amount of technology for their students, Chromebooks, hotspots, things like that. So definitely the pandemic did, make it to where there was a need for one-to-one technology. And what was the second part of that question?
Are there other changes that have happened that you believe should not be continued?
Let's see, change that should not be continued. Well, I can't speak as far as the pandemic, but I pretty much know that virtual learning will not go anywhere. I think we're always going to have that component, which is good for our students that need that, for their families that are sick and cannot come to school. So definitely, if we could just really hone in on bringing internet access and more electronic capabilities to our rural districts, that would be something that I would want to advocate for.
Question number 6. The current COVID pandemic has highlighted both the impact that technology can have in student learning, as well as the access disparities that can inhibit student achievement. What role, if any, do you believe Bessie has in helping to address statewide access to broadband for students and teachers?
I've kind of touched on that. Definitely, if they can, get with the federal government to bring more of the CARES Act money to our local parishes. That is something that we really need, to look at statewide. And like I said, District 4, we're still rural, that a lot of the internet companies, can't make it out to the homes or things like that. So we really need to look at different ways of bringing internet services to, especially District 4.
What do you see as the biggest challenge facing Louisiana's K-12 system? And how do you believe Bessie should address it?
Definitely, K through 12 widespread would be our literacy rate. We are starting to become good at, in Louisiana, being the best at being on the worst list. And I think that literacy, it all ties back to literacy. I know as a 4th grade educator, it's very disheartening to see, students that can't read, can't write. So definitely we have got to do something as it relates to literacy in our state. Once we do kind of hone in on the literacy problem, then you can jump to science, math, STEM, things like that. I feel like if a child cannot read, then they can't do much, going forward. So I see this every day. And like I said, it's very disheartening, but definitely the literacy rate in our state. Reading for pleasure is something that's kind of, it doesn't happen much anymore. They just read for the text evidence and then move on. So really we need to start, allowing children to read for pleasure and kind of unplug from the electronic world that they're in. I know it's a challenge, but definitely literacy.
Okay, this will be your final question and will include your final remarks. Is there anything you would like to address that we have not yet covered?
A lot of those, questions are very relevant. COVID, what's the problem with Bessie? How can they move forward? What are our students struggling with? So definitely those are good questions, and I'm glad that you asked. My campaign really has focused on the students, the teachers, and the community. How can we better access education for students? How can we, prioritize and help our teachers, not just with, different pay increases, but just help them inside the classroom, give them proper funding, help them with this new and unfamiliar world of virtual that we're in now. And definitely to, be able to promote community involvement with our young kids and as well as our secondary, kids. We have, great colleges in Northwest and North Louisiana. It's disheartening to see students go to Texas and Alabama and other places like that. So definitely to retain our secondary students here and to promote literacy for our younger generation.